Welcome to EO Talks, Eastern Oregon's very own talk show, only here on EOAlive.
Alrighty, please introduce yourself and tell us which office you're running for.
My name's Bob Tiernan. I'm running to be Oregon's next governor.
Now, what do you do professionally?
Professionally, I'm a business consultant, lawyer, executive. I have president of two major companies, started another company, and I'm a retired Navy officer. And my biggest job is probably still being a father and a grandfather to 7.
Can you tell me more about your service in the Oregon State Legislature?
Sure. I was elected in 92, went through 97. I was chairman of several committees. I had a lot of, I think, major successes for Oregon. Crime and the crime wave that was happening in the early 90s when they were letting people out of prison left and right. Oh my gosh, sound familiar? They were giving you could steal cars in the Portland metro area, and I think they gave you frequent flyer miles on your favorite airline. But rape, robbery, murder, I mean, it was almost as bad as it is now. Not quite, but they were letting them out. So I was chairman of the Crime and Corrections Committee, and we had a very successful time. We implemented a lot of criminal reforms, such as elder abuse, a lot of sexual predator laws we enacted, including sex offender registration. Oh my gosh, there was a whole host. But we also took some of the smaller crimes and put some longer sentences in them so we could act as a deterrent for continued crime. And then our biggest one was a criminal reform that in Oregon back in the early 90s, murder was 8 years in prison. Rape was, I think, 4. Robbery was 1.5 years. And again, they gave you frequent flyer miles for stealing cars. That bill died in my committee. Unfortunately, the Democrats blocked it. But what I ended up doing after the legislative session, I took that bill and rolled it out to an initiative called Measure 11. Measure 11, I was the chief petitioner, which I think is still responsible for making Oregon a pretty safe place now, although it's starting to fall apart again, with Governor Brown letting out over, 1,200 felons now. Measure 11 took the 7 top crimes, rape, robbery, murder, and put definite sentences to them. So, for instance, murder went from 8 to 25 years. Rape went from 3.5 to 13 years. Armed robbery went from, I may be fuzzy on armed robbery, 18 months to 4.5 years, 5 years. So we really put the penalties back into the criminal justice system. The second thing we did in another ballot measure was ballot measure 17, which was make prisoners work. If you're going to put some people in prison and you expect them to come out with doing something else except more crime, then you need to give them a trade. You need to give them something to fall back on. So we passed Measure 17, which was forcing the corrections department to make prisoners work. Believe it or not, they didn't. They're lifting weights. Well, they took on some of that, but through the future Democratic administrations, they kind of ignored the people's wish. Both those initiatives, Measure 11 and Measure 17, passed overwhelmingly in the state. And the Democratic governors, especially Kate Brown and Mr. Kitzhaber, did everything they can to dismantle the people's wishes and their votes. And it's still going on today. And I think one of the biggest issues right now in Oregon, especially in the metro area, I know Eastern Oregon's a little bit different. They're a little more on the lawful side. I had a place in Fossil for a long time. Crime was an unusual event. Perhaps poaching wasn't so much unusual. I think the district attorney there spent more of his time chasing poachers than he did burglars. But on this side of the mountain, but growing out to our suburbs, Portland's just a lawless city now. I don't know how else to describe it. And it's creeping out to the suburbs where, you're getting your catalytic converters cut off when you're in the malls. When you're parking on the street, they just break your window and grab what they have in your car. my daughter's car in Lake Oswego with her 5 children. She had her car broken into and her stuff stolen out of it. It's just, and the cops aren't doing anything about it. So, in a nutshell, that was my time in the Oregon legislature. I thought it was very successful, but also afterwards with passing some ballot measures that made Oregon a safer place.
Can you go a little more in depth about your biography beyond your legislative service?
Sure. My biography really started when I got out of Oregon State. I'm a Beaver. I'm answering one of your questions later on right now. I went from Oregon State to law school at Seattle University. After Seattle University Law School, my JD, I got a master's from Georgetown University. I specialized in employment, labor law, pension law, etc. And then I started in the legal business, and I rolled out to starting, as well as doing some legal, my heart went to business. And so I started a few businesses, made some money, lost some money, learned a lot. And eventually I had some opportunities to run some major companies. I went on to be an executive for a couple. I was a president of Grocery Outlet and turned that company around. And it's still one of Oregon's largest grocery stores right now. I think we got 67. I was their president for 4 years. I went on to a second company called Rayleigh's, about the size of Fred Meyer's, helped them turn that company around. I restarted Payless drugstores out there. In fact, a lot of Payless drugstores became Rite Aids. Well, Rite Aid forgot to renew the trademark Payless. I picked it up, flipped it around, started it with a couple of $100, and then I went to turn that company into a long-term care pharmacy, and with the help of a couple of others, directed it as president of the company sold it for $20 million. We were, my heart is a businessman. I spent 28 years in the United States Navy. As soon as I got out of Georgetown, as silly as it may sound, I joined the Navy in 1983. At that time, the Soviets were a threat. Oh, wow. What's going on right now? I went in as a Soviet analyst, came out as a targeting officer, as a commander. 28 years of the best time I spent in my life. I went around the world. I would like to say that we went around the world to make the world a safer place, and I really enjoyed my years in the Navy. It taught me a lot. I did a lot of leadership training, and I did a lot of special intelligence duties. I was at 9/11 on Wednesday. I was activated and was gone for 3.5 months on a special targeting team. Anyway, I had a long Navy career. So really, I've been involved in politics. I've been in the Oregon legislature, successful in business. I know how to fix problems. Leadership, I know how to lead teams of people to accomplish things. And I was also chairman of the Oregon Republican Party for 2 years, where I took on a debt of a couple of $100,000 with no headquarters, nothing, no employees, turned it around and paid off the debt, put some money in the bank, opened a new headquarters, hired some people. And then soon after, we had the chairman of the Republican Party at that time came out through an event in the Hilton and had over 1,000 people show up. Largest Republican party ever held in the Portland metro area. And it was Michael Steele, who was then the RNC Republican National Committee chairman, came out and put on a fundraiser for Oregon Republicans. So in a nutshell, that's it. Politics, business, Navy, helping people, and most importantly, father of 3 wonderful kids, 7 grandkids. And that's really my claim to fame.
Now, which city do you live in currently?
I'm in Lake Oswego, Oregon. I met my wife at Oregon State, and we were married in Lake Oswego. 2 of our 3 children were born in Lake Oswego. Those same 2 that were born in Lake Oswego now have 7 children of their own in Lake Oswego. And I live, oh my gosh, a block and a half from both of them. I'm a proud grandfather. That's probably the funnest thing I do is chase kids, spin them up, and give them back to their mothers. But yeah, live in Lake Oswego. Been here for a long time. I do travel a lot. I have businesses up and down the West Coast. I'm on the plane a lot. I think I travel probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 flights a year. But this is home plate, always has been. This is where my heart is. And this is why I'm running for office, because my heart is getting broken by watching what's going on in our state.
As you talk to Oregonians, what issues do you think you need to focus on as governor?
Well, the biggest issues right now in the Portland metro area, and it's 60%. And the reason I'm focusing on that, because we're national news everywhere. Oregon's becoming a national embarrassment, no matter where you live in Oregon. And our biggest problem is we're not fixing any of our problems. None. We have a homeless crisis going on in Portland where anybody can sleep anywhere, go anywhere, live anywhere. Downtown Portland has become a ghost town, a cross between the riots, the homeless, the drugs, the garbage. If anybody who's listening to this on the other side of the mountains, I'd say from the Dalles East all the way out to Baker, down the Klamath Falls, Lakeview, Portland is just a mess. It's become a garbage dump. It's the exact opposite of what it was when I came here at Oregon State. And for the next 25 years, we were so proud of how green we were and what a great environment we had and how clean our rivers were. And now Portland is just a dump. And we're not solving that homeless crisis. I had an announcement of my campaign on Monday in front of a homeless shelters and garbage that have been out there for at least 2 months. And it's just embarrassing and it's disgusting and it needs to be solved, and it's not being solved. The second one is the crime that's running off that crime and lawlessness. You see it on TV, the riots, no arrests, Molotov cocktails, people getting beat up, shot. Portland downtown is a ghost town. Anybody who wants to go downtown Portland, even during the day, they got to have their head checked. Why would you? We've got to turn that around, and it's easy to fix if you've got leadership, but we don't have it. And so that's the number one. I think it's crime, it's correction. It's Governor Brown who's letting 1,200 criminals out. What do you think those guys are going to do? You think they're in prison because they made a mistake? It takes a lot to get in the big house. That's the maximum security prison. I've been there. I've been in it, not as a guest. I've been in there as a state legislator. It's full of bad people who do bad things. And just to let them out like that, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think when you have a riot in Portland and you don't arrest anybody for the fire, the vandalism, the throwing the rocks, and you let them break and do shop and goes, grab and goes in stores, and you don't do anything about it? When they steal cars, you don't do anything about it. When you go out shopping and they cut off your catalytic converter and they don't do anything about it. When they steal your car, break your windows, steal your stuff, and they don't do anything about it. It just gets worse. So crime is a significant problem here, and it's creeping out of Oregon. I mean, it's down to Salem. It's in Bend now. Go check out the homeless situation and the drug situation in Bend. So it's lack of leadership, lack of solving problems, and we need somebody who knows how to fix things, how to put teams together, how to put timelines together, how to set priorities, and how to move in. And, I think a lot of people who are in leadership roles now in the Oregon State government need to be replaced. I think we need some seasoned leadership with people who are taught and have had a long success of getting things done and fixing things. So in a nutshell, I know it's a big nutshell, that's it. In Eastern Oregon, I would look more at economic development. I've had a place out in Fossil for a long time. I sold it a while ago. I still have one of the nicest lots in Fossil, and I look forward to building a house on it. Fossil is, I think, still the poorest city in the poorest county in the state. I get Eastern Oregon. I love it out there. You asked earlier, my favorite place is probably the John Day River, just going down and sitting down there in the river and looking up just gorgeous. I mean, they think the Grand Canyon's nice. John Day is pretty darn nice. Anyway, that's what I consider the problems. Economic development, forestry, but the big ones are crime, lawlessness, homelessness. We have to resolve those, and they can be fixed. And I'm governor. I will fix them.
Well, going to a lighter note, who is your favorite Oregon historical figure?
Well, that was a question that I was hoping to get the names of the two gentlemen. I sat in the Oregon legislature. In fact, my freshman year was 1992. I was sitting on the aisle looking up at this huge mural that's over the speaker's platform. Sitting to my left was nobody, it was an aisle. Sitting to my right, just elected just like me, was Kate Brown. Oh my gosh. I wondered how she got elected for many years, and oh no, she's governor now. My favorite is the mural that sits behind. It's a picture of Shampooey Park, and it was in 1859. Our state's birthday was just 3 days ago. It was Monday. We were 163 years old. So 163 years ago, in 1859, we were taking a vote in Shampooey Park on whether Oregon should be a state by itself with the United States, or should it vote to go with Canada? And the two gentlemen there are arguing. They're shaking hands in the mural, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous, huge, I don't know, 20 by 40 painting. And they took a vote, and the vote was, let's go with the United States. And it was only passed by one vote. My favorite picture. One person does make a difference. It just takes one. All of us, but it just takes one.
What do you consider to be the primary sources of your personal values?
My primary sources is probably my parents growing up. My dad, who was also in the Navy for, oh my gosh, he was in there 44 years. I can remember he put up the three principles of our house was God, family, and country, in that order. So I had a real strong upbringing, and we were Catholic by religious background. And of course, I was the proverbial altar boy, 12 years. And I went on to a Catholic high school, boarding school, where I was taught by the Jesuits. It was a lot of fun, a lot of values there, a lot of values with my parents, reinforced by the schools I got to go to, finishing off at Georgetown. And that's where I learned, God, family, country.
Do you anticipate any criticisms from your opponents, and do you have any responses to those potential criticisms?
Well, first off, we're in a primary now. So I was former chairman of the Oregon Republican Party, and I preached then, and I'll preach now, and I'm going to walk the walk. It doesn't do anybody any good in the primary to criticize a fellow Republican. It just doesn't. It's bad taste. Talk about yourself. Talk about what you're going to do and why people should vote for you. That's why I'm here today. That's what our debate should be about. But to the extent somebody has something not nice to say, I'm going to ignore it. As far as what I'm going to say about somebody else, good luck. I'm glad they're running, even though we have a lot of Republicans. I mean, that's part of our democracy. Terrific. More the merrier. But I won't have any criticisms, and anybody who criticizes me, I'm going to just ignore it.
Now it's time for our world famous lightning round. So first up, Dr. Beavers.
The Beavers! I'm a Beaver! Come on! We used to raid the Ducks. I was on a rowing team, the crew team at Oregon State, and we were a rowdy bunch. We won. We were very competitive. Our best rower in our boat was Robert Segunas, went to the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, rowing was a lot of fun. We had a lot of camaraderie at Oregon State, and but all we did with Oregon was raid them. They have good parties down there, but we were happy to go and more than happy to leave.
There you go. What is your favorite Oregon landmark?
Probably, as I said before, it's good. I would say it's a tie between the John Day River, where I used to take my kids, and it's just beyond gorgeous. I'd take the rest of your show up to talk about how peaceful it is there. And probably Multnomah Falls. I love hiking at Multnomah Falls. Anybody who hasn't tried it, probably it's hard for a lot of people to get up to the top, but if you can make it, wow, what a climb.
What is your favorite Oregon beer?
I grew up in Corvallis drinking Henry's. So that's my memory. Then I went on to Molson, White Mouth, and some others. But I stopped drinking beer many years ago to keep the weight off, and I went to wine. So I'm a little wine teetotaler.
Gotcha. What is your favorite Oregon wine then?
Oh, my favorite's got to be the Pinot Noirs, and I won't say which. If you just, I think they're all good in the Willamette Valley. I really don't have if it came from Oregon, I'll drink it.
There you go. Last up, what is your favorite place in Eastern Oregon?
Well, I have to say my favorite place has been Fossil, because it is so small. It has, I forget, 9 churches, 230 or 40 people in Fossil, churches, the General Mercantile, the hardware store with the liquor store in it. You have to go to Ireland to find that. A shooting gun and a gun range in town. The fairgrounds are in town. The people are just fantastic. The gas station there lets you get gas anytime. It's a hometown. It's like they call it a travel through time. I think it's just a precious place, and lessons a lot of Oregonians on this side of the mountains could learn from the folks on that side of the mountains.
Last up, do you have any final thoughts? And can you let our viewers know where they can get in touch with you?
You can go to my website, bobtiernan.com. That's bobtiernan.com. And yes, I need donations. I'm getting in late. The reason I'm running is to fix Oregon's problems. I think I'm the only candidate who has the background of the businessman. I've turned around companies for a living. I fix things for a living. In the Navy, we went out on assignment. We didn't make excuses. We just got results. And that's why my logo, my call sign in this campaign is simply results, no excuses. That's what I do in business. I turn them around. I fix things. That's what I love doing. That's what I did in the Navy. It's what I'm trained to do. In the legislature, that's what I did. And when it didn't work in the legislature, I rolled them out the ballot measures. We will get it done. We will fix Oregon. But we're out of time. We got to do it now. And I look forward to the challenge. It's not necessarily going to be a lot of fun. It will once we get the job done. But doing the job, it's going to be hard. A lot of people in Salem need to be replaced. And we need to go in a different direction. To put it in Navy terms, we got to take the rudder and turn it. And that's what I can do.